We'll start with an easy one tonight. Tell us about who you are and why you're running for Scottsbluff City Council.
My name is Nathan Green. I've been a council member for 4 years. I am not a Scottsbluff native. I'm an import, I guess. Moved here for the community, with the goal of raising my children and having a hometown, not just a small town feel. I feel that while on council, we've had some pretty good sized challenges with COVID, new management, and going through the process of learning how to go about those. One of the main things that I do see is you have to have an empathy with the citizens, because their problems may be a common problem, but it's not common to them. So being able to hear them out, address their concerns, and give them a way to feel heard. Something that is important. Work with the youth and the scouting, different travel sports and league sports with my kids. I have 3 kids in elementary school and the junior high. So we enjoy going to the different sporting events and games here in the community. And just really looking forward to moving forward for the youth, like she said, having something here for them when we're gone. So.
Nathan, what do you feel the biggest issue facing the city is, and how would you work to improve it?
Well, I think everybody has touched on the city manager aspect. That's something that needs to be done. Get it advertising, start vetting. I have a feeling that will be put off till after the election. I don't think that that's going to happen before the new council is seated. I hope that it would, and I wish that it would. I think the issues that the next council is going to have to address, or is going to be challenges, are the different infrastructures, travel and tourism, the landfill, water. So the way that I would address that is, continue with the interlocal agreements for the dump. Keep that moving forward. Make sure that we're on top of it, that it doesn't get bypassed or we forget portions of it. Working on good contracts that are solid for the community. As far as the water, the pause program, get that back up and running. And then also support the rail, airports and different highway for bringing supplies to their community, as well as visitors too.
Nathan, as the city looks for a new city manager, what leadership qualities are imperative to set Scottsbluff up for success, not only tomorrow, but for years to come?
I think it's a good vetting process. Going through this once before, I think we placed a little too much emphasis on the scouting or recruitment organization to do the due diligence, and we're happy to get some applicants, especially as the extensions with Rick Kukan kept moving further and further down the road. So I think we did the best with what we had, but anybody in the position to help vet this position really needs to look at it as the best for the community. City managers should have a vision of the future, should have a strong personal drive. Dealing with the community and staff are high values, but also listening to the overall direction of the council. We are a council that changes our mind every election, it seems. So having a forethought and a direction, and being able to follow that, but yet incorporate the current council's ideals. And they got to be excited about the community. Got to get out there and promote themselves almost as much as the community.
Nathan, how does the city solve the issue of aging and failing water and wastewater infrastructure?
I like the phrasing there, solve the issue. It's always, once you fix it, it becomes aged as soon as you get it in the ground. The idea is to be proactive, not reactive. Ask the questions about infrastructure or water treatment plants, and then we've kind of been surprised by some failures of the system. So trying to get ahead of it, rely on the staff to let us know, set a time frame of here's how long it's been since we've done this. This area is probably an area of concern, and then budgeting for those different things, looking into different grants or government programs that might be coming for infrastructure or sewer and water. The PAWS program is something that I'm passionate about to get water supply to the whole valley, and that's not needed yet, but it will be in the future. We can discuss the trash later. I think that we are looking for the city manager to be the savior in this. I think we need to look back on our staff. We've got an amazing staff. We give them the tools to do their job, and they do a good job. We've added the camera trucks and different mapping techniques to keep an eye on these and help put together a plan. I think by having a city planner that looks to the future, sees the growth and the potential needs, and then also see as the city grows away from other areas if that's still needed so much. So just getting ahead of the issues before total failure.
Nathan, what ideas do you have for improving availability and affordability of workforce housing in the area?
I think just availability is one thing. Working with developers, trying to stimulate building growth, maybe different size housing, multifamily, different campus designs, maybe not going as far as trailer parks, but looking at all varieties of housing that could be brought in quickly, but yet efficiently and appropriately. I think working with Twin City Development and their grant writing for housing is still an important factor. Working with the schools, making sure that there's nothing that's left aside as far as like encouraging families, younger families, the older families, and aging houses, making sure that they still are able to upkeep their house and properties so that they are marketable for other people to buy when they do decide to sell.
We'll move on to our next question. Nathan, we'll start with you. Riverside Discovery Center is likely to reach out to the city for changes in financial support during your tenure, if reelected in your case. What, if any, is the proper level of such support and why?
Having a dollar amount in my head to say out loud and say, here's what I think it's worth, I think is unfair to the zoo and the city. I think the zoo has grown in responsibility, seen more membership and patrons come through. So I would like to see how that plays out. Maybe some different contracts to renegotiate where that is, or find out what the actual, not to use minimum requirement, but what can be done to continue their path and their growth. But also make sure that we're doing it the right way so they're not becoming so dependent on us that they can't do it if we have to reduce, if we have a downturn in the economy. So working together and finding a good balance, I think, is very important.
Nathan, is the Aquatic Center something that can be successful in our area, and if so, how?
I think the definition of successful needs to be, better defined. Is it going to make money the first year? No. Can it? Possibly. Is it going to provide services for the students to swim and compete? Absolutely. Is there a therapy component? Yes. I think that it needs to look at the overall plan, which I don't know if there's a hammered out or ironed out, this is exactly what you're going to get. But I would say that we don't want to undercut and do what we can just barely afford. If we're going to do it, we need to do it right. Have an indoor and outdoor component, both an organized and a fun play area that people want to go to. I've seen things with my own kids where something gets over organized and it's no longer fun. It's something you have to do. Hurry up, get ready, eat quick, and let's get there. If you've got a place to hang out, kids are going to want to be there and excel to either compete or do different safety things. I think we do need to have a componentry where we work with the Y and the schools for lakefront safety. So I think that is a goal or something that can be successful, and work with different different organizations for the funding as well. kind of ran out of time there.
Anyone else with something they'd like to add in regards to the Aquatic Center?
I guess I didn't run out of time. I thought you were flipping it, so I apologize. I'll take the last 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
Here. I think we need to use it as an addition to our current aquatic components, not just in Scottsbluff, but the other communities that have outdoor pools, so that we can do things like have mayor challenges and work on different ways that we can work amongst the valley and have friendly rivalries and competitions and whatnot.
Nathan, over the past 12 months, how many city council meetings have you attended, and what were your thoughts on how those meetings went?
Well, I've been to a few city council meetings. Trying to go back the 12 months. When I first moved to Scottsbluff, I had some issues with trying to get some different things taken care of for where I live, and it's what kind of got me coming to city council meetings. So I would attend them even before I decided to run. Sat in the back, asked a lot of questions, was one of those citizens against virtually everything as it affected me, and then kind of learned what the role was, what you could do if there were boards that you went to instead of just going directly to city council. I stuck with it and eventually got elected on. This last year was way different than anything I've ever seen. We've replaced city council members. We've had to replace the city manager. We've had to deal with COVID, storms. There is no way that I would say that there's a norm. It's just being able to roll with it and working together, especially when we didn't have quorum and it was questionable sometimes. You did what was best for the city. Even if you had questions, you'd ask those questions. But then you had to take a strong, hard look at how it would affect the overall city. And I think there's been some changes in the last few months. But overall, I think we've worked very well through everything that we've gone through.
Nathan, if somebody was preparing to move into Scottsbluff and knew nothing about the city, how would you describe it?
Well, I've often said a hometown, not a small town. And that's true. People do band together and help out. If you need somebody to pick up your kids, it's not hard to make those friendship groups. Got many areas of groups for whatever activity it might be. If it's history, there's a vast knowledge of history that's taking place around here. Activity levels, we've got trails, parks, sporting events for youth, great schools. You know, we are respectful. Even if we have a disagreement, we can still talk about it and be civil about it. It's not, I'm not going to talk to you again, you know. So it is really nice. We are very supportive of diversity in our community. And no one really, I don't believe, feels singled out, or if they do, it's easy to address those issues. The commute was brought up, and I think the worst commute is whether or not you're driving into the sun or when you go to work, or if you're driving away from it. I don't think there's a real traffic jam or anything like that. No potholes like the big cities have.
Nathan, what are your thoughts on the city creative district currently in the development phase?
Well, I think it's going to add to the personality of the community. I think that it's going to open up a little bit more diversity to the heart of the city, not just putting it into one area, not limiting it or kind of sectioning off an area where you can do this or that. It kind of brings the community together, and I don't want to use the word unites the communities in the different areas of the town, but I think it will bring a feeling of well-being throughout the community.
All right. At this time, we've reached time for closing arguments, or closing thoughts, I guess, arguments, whatever you want to call them. A closing statement, how about that, to give those that are watching tonight in the voters a last word on you. And Nathan, 60 seconds for a closing statement.
I've been honored to be on City Council for the last 4 years. I look forward to another 4 years. I think that one term is difficult to achieve the goals that you set out, and would feel that there's a lot left on the table. I know that There for a while, there was 3 of us, and we took a lot of the brunt of the problems that were going on. I got broad shoulders. I can take that. It was something that I put myself out there to do, and chose to do. I look forward to it, and I want to see this continue on. A lot of the things that the staff has started and different wards and organizations have brought forward, I'd like to see those come to completion and be part of it with them. Not taking credit for their accolades or anything, but giving them the ability to continue on. I do look forward to sitting on the council with some of the people that are up here right now. Actually, there's nobody I wouldn't be willing to work with. Thank you.